Hi, I thought we'd catch up with what the Marybugh Community Woodland group have been doing last Saturday, which was the 4th of July 2026. We had 12 volunteers and we split into 3 different groups. One group came into the woodland and they started lifting the monkey puzzle saplings. The second group went up onto the Bran estate and with their permission we emptied out and cleared some of the drainage ditches. And the third group started at the top of compartment 12, which is in between the native section and the beech section, and started removing some of the beech saplings from there. We're very aware that there's a lot of water damage to our paths within the woodland. And part of the reason for that is, apart from the fact that the paths are really old now and have had no maintenance, is that because of the water that's running down through them. And we contacted Bran Estate, our neighbouring landowner, and discussed it with them. And they actually had 3 drainage ditches up on their land, but they had got covered up with vegetation and filled in, and they were no longer being effective. So with the permission of Bran Estate, we had a group of people go up on Saturday, and what they did is they cleared out all the vegetation from the drainage ditches, and now we've got 3 ditches there that will hopefully take the water that's coming down the Bran track and divert it into the field using the existing drainage. So we're hoping that that's going to stop a lot of the water that's coming down onto the Marybugh Community Woodland. For a few months we've been looking at the woodland, and we're very lucky to have a section of memory trees which are really very old and non-native trees, but which mean an awful lot to the community. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to ensure that we've got some of their offspring so that we can bring them on, so that when these trees eventually fail, that we do have the replacements ready and hopefully still planted. So one of the ones that we were particularly keen on dealing with were the monkey puzzle trees. We did used to have 4 there, but several years ago now, one failed, and it's now the tree that's rotting behind the rhododendron ponticum. So we're very aware that the remaining 3 trees may at some point fail as well. So we've been looking at some of the saplings and we earmarked some to be lifted. However, it's not that simple, because the whole woodland has got a tree preservation order on it. It means that we've got to go to the local authority to get permission to actually do anything to any of the trees. And that includes lifting them, even if we want to do that for conservation purposes. So we got the permissions, and last Saturday a group went to lift all the saplings. Unfortunately, when they got there, the large saplings that we were planning lifting had already been lifted by somebody else, without permission, and certainly without permission covering the tree preservation order. So what we did instead is we did lift some of the smaller saplings. We were quite lucky, we've got 18 of those now. We know that 6 of them have really not got a very good root structure there, so we suspect they're not going to survive, but we're hoping of the remainder we'll get at least 4 out of that, so that we can grow them on and then plant them back into the woodland so that they're there in case any of the existing trees fail. The last group started working on the border between compartment 11, which is the beech area, and compartment 12, which is the native woodland area. So again, with permission from the council through the tree preservation order, we've got permission to remove both beech and western hemlock. We did actually find a western hemlock in there, so that'll be getting removed in the next session. But we started removing a lot of the beech trees, and these were very thin trees that had shot up because they were searching for light in the canopy, and we took them down, or a lot of them down. It was actually quite funny. You could see everyone going along, looking at the trees, shaking it and going, that's a rowan, and walking on. That's a rowan, and walking on, and then going, oh, beech, I can take that one down. Now, we did have some challenges when we were doing that. One was we found a nest with bees in it. So obviously we left that area. We didn't want to interfere with that at all. The other thing that we found was a nest for a wood pigeon. So we made sure that we kept all the trees that we were taking down away from that nest so that we could let the bird continue roosting and hopefully have more wood pigeons. At about 11:30, we decided to stop cutting all the beech trees down, and what we would do instead is create a dead hedge. There's different ways of creating a dead hedge, and in the past what we've done is we've just created a long line of stacked trees one on top of the other. This time we tried something differently, and some of the taller trees that we used, which were very, very thin, we actually cut them into shorter lengths and we made them into posts. And we put those posts around the length that we wanted the hedge to be. We then wove all the trees in between those posts and started building up the hedge from there. There are still some trees left, and either during the month or at the next session we're going to continue building that hedge up. There's lots of reasons for creating a dead hedge, and what we wanted to do this time was we were very aware that with us clearing a lot of the trees out, there would be a temptation just to not stick to the path but create a new path through that area of trees, which we didn't want because there are some very small saplings in there that we need to protect. So the dead hedge will actually discourage people from going into that area. The other thing that dead hedges do is they provide fantastic habitat. They do that for insects and birds and small mammals. And over time, what will also happen is the wood will rot down, because that's what wood does. So what it'll do is it'll then start providing nutrients back into the soil and start feeding the trees that are starting to come on there.